this was a really good idea to TP Mrs. Schlichty's house.
Oh, TP is awesome.
Get that tree over there.
Oh yeah, let's get Old Man Doyman next.
Oh, Old Man Doyman's going down.
What time is it?
What time is it? Anybody know?
It's like 9 o'clock.
Oh my gosh, I'm so late. I gotta get out of here. See you guys. Mom, you're still up. How you doing, Mom? Waiting up. That's sweet.
Where have you been, young man? What's your story?
Well, you see, I was doing my homework at the library, and it just kept on going really, really late.
On Friday?
Okay, me and my girlfriend, we went out to watch that really new movie, that really good one with the guy on the island, and
You could never get a girlfriend.
I was on my way home, and there was a really big accident on 140th Street, and I was sitting there forever.
In Sioux Center? We don't have 140th Street.
The dog ate my watch.
Which dog? Buffy? The one you ran over when you got your learner's permit? Good night, son.
What's the matter, Mom? You don't like story time? And May, up next is Story Time by Kelly Kroll.
That Sam I am, that Sam I am, I do not like that Sam I am. Do you like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam I am, I do not like green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there? I would not like them here or there, I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham, I do not like them, Sam I am. I work at a bookstore downtown on Cassidy Street. It's a little place called Story Time. We mostly got children's books, but occasionally the bell will ring up front and someone will be looking for a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal on their way to work. But usually, I'm showing people where to find the Grimm's fairy tales or the Hardy Boy books. I've been working at the bookstore now for about 42 years. I started back in 1959 when I was a student at the U of M. My father owned a grocery store at the time and always said I would be the one in the family who would go to college. That was rare for those days, a woman going to college. I had two older brothers, but he expected they would own the family store after a while. Neither of them did. Donald is still a mechanic, and Lloyd works for the city part-time. I needed some extra money to pay for my living expenses, so Mrs. Rinesworth, the original owner of Storytime, gave me a job sorting books. If you would have told me then that I would own the store someday, I'm sure I would have laughed in your face. I was quite the character. I'm surprised Mrs. Rinesworth even put up with me. I was reading the books as I was sorting them. I nearly memorized every one from cover to cover. Sometimes, Mrs. Rinesworth would be in the front, balancing the accounts, looking over the glasses at the end of her nose, and I would be in the back, jabbering about moving away to Amsterdam or London with my husband and Schnauzer. I would never have guessed that I'd be living only 3 blocks away from where I lived and grew up, and still working at Storytime. I'll admit, Mel wasn't exactly what I had in mind for a husband either. Sure, he was handsome, but how many ladies dream of marrying a custodian? I met Mel downtown, at a bar of all places. I think it was called Kelly's Irish Pub. It might still be there on Waverly, I'm not sure. I haven't been down that way for years. But at that time, that's where college kids went to socialize. Of course, my parents didn't approve of me being at bars. They never thought much of alcohol. Mel's didn't either. In fact, we didn't even approve of being there ourselves. But if you wanted to dance, that's where you had to go, and we both approved of that. I can still see Mel sitting there with his buddy Don drinking their sodas. He was wearing a gray flannel suit. His hair was all slicked back. And I was in my black dress. I just received it in the mail that day from J.C. Penney's. We were all wearing high heels, and I honestly don't know how we managed. Anyway, I was sitting there in the booth with my friend Marilyn, listening to the jukebox. I was trying to look my prettiest, because I knew Mel was watching me. I'd kind of twirl my hair and stare off into space, and I laughed at everything Marilyn said. I'd seen Mel and Don a couple other times, even talked with them, but I never noticed Mel the way I did that night. It's crazy thinking about it all. Doesn't even feel like I was the one in that black dress. Marilyn was telling me she was sure he liked me, as best friends always do, but I wasn't so sure. Well, I didn't like wasting time, so I just marched right out onto that dance floor, and I wasn't waiting for Don to look at me. In fact, I was just seeing if he was coming to dance with me. It seems crazy now. I probably frightened him more than anything. As I was pumping my head, pumping my arms, and shaking my behind while couples were slow dancing all around me, I was quite surprised when I finally looked over at Mel, and he was talking to another girl. She was short, blonde, wearing pink. She had a little hat that bounced as she laughed. Well, I didn't bother to find out her name. I just marched right over to Mel and told him we were going to dance. Yeah, I was a feisty one. Girls didn't do things like that at that time. But he came with me anyway. Mel's a great dancer. He took dance lessons till he was 14. When we got out on that dance floor, he took my hands and I was whisked off my feet. Literally. I remember looking into those clear blue eyes with the wrinkles around them that didn't make him look old, but intelligent and understanding. We danced to Put Your Head on My Shoulder by Paul Anka. It's been our song ever since. Well, I'd left my college books and my bicycle back at the bookstore, so we said goodbye to Marilyn and Mel walked back with me. He told me about his family in Baltimore and how he just needed to get away. So he came to Minneapolis last week and was working at the YMCA as a janitor. He seemed so passionate about his job. I was attracted to that. When we got to the store, I was using that clumsy skeleton key to unlock the door. He asked if he could come in and look around. Well, I told him we only sold children's books, but he insisted anyway. So I turned the lights on so he could see the place and then went in the back to get my things. And when I returned, he was reading The Tale of Peter Rabbit. I turned the lights off in the back and came to where he was sitting and knelt down. Then he started reading the story to me. He was so deliberate and gentle, even in the way he turned the pages. When the story was finished, he looked at me and said, "If I had a son, and he was a rabbit, I wouldn't name him Peter, would you?" "Peter's not that bad," I said. "Besides, my brother's name is Lloyd Peter." "Well, he's not a rabbit," he said. He set down the book and took my hands in his. "You're right," I said cleverly. "But who's to say? Rabbits don't mind naming their children Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, or Peter. Maybe Peter's father's name was Peter, and the family's been in the name ever since." He laughed again. I hadn't thought of that one. We stayed at Storytime Bookstore that night, reading all my favorites until the stars were gone and the sun was coming up. Maybe that night is the reason I stayed working at Storytime, and it's the reason I bought the place 25 years later. Last year, when Mel passed away, I sold the store to one of my friend's daughters, Charlotte. She's done a fine job. She's always great with the children, and she handles the responsibility well. I just couldn't do it all anymore after Mel died. He had always cleaned the place on Saturdays and done a lot of the bookkeeping around the holidays when things got busy. Once he passed on, I just didn't have the energy. But I remember the day we bought that place. Of course, it wasn't the first time I'd unlocked the door and opened it and walked inside. But when it was ours, after we had worked so hard saving, milling over paperwork, getting that loan passed, it reminded me of the first night we spent there together. Sure, we were older and our daughter was grown up and married. But part of that life, of a 20-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman sitting together on the floor of a bookstore reading stories, was still in that place. It was in the books, and it was in us. I suppose that's it. That's the reason why I'm still at story time. Charlotte's been really great about everything. I'm back to working 3 days a week. I'm back to sorting books. And every Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, we put out cookies in little plastic cups with juice. Children come with their mothers, and we all sit on the floor, and I read them stories, looking up every now and then to see if they're finished looking at the pictures.